How do you define spirituality? Should we be defining spirituality? In this video, I'm going to be talking all about defining spirituality and what it really means to me. And hopefully by the end of this video, you will have a better understanding of what spirituality really means to you. Hello everybody and welcome back to another video. For those that are new, my name is Christina and I help empower people on their spiritual and healing journey so they can have a more fulfilling and purposeful driven life. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and the bell notification because it's my mission to share my message to as many people as possible. So with that being said, let's dive straight in. Do you ever feel like you're kind of straying from the spiritual path? You've gone back into old habits, old beliefs, you've been triggered again by that thing you thought you'd healed. You feel like you've got off the tracks, you're not consistent with your meditation practice or your spiritual practice. And then you begin to feel like guilty that you haven't been consistent and you've gone back into old habits. I know I've been there. Things get in the way, like everyday life, or we go through ordeals and just things kind of get in the way, almost it feels like, of our spiritual practices. Our ego starts kind of hooking its grip into us again, pulling us back down from that high vibe state, and we just fall back into old habits. And then this can give us that illusion, that false feeling that we feel disconnected from God, source, creator, whatever label you like to put on it. So then you feel like you're a victim again. We end up back in victimhood. And the reason why we can often feel guilty about falling off the tracks again, going on to old habits, having those moments of contraction rather than expansion, is because often spirituality kind of gets defined as this kind of persona, this kind of character that we have to live up to. And often you might see across on social media or even these spiritual teachers, you see that they're like meditating 24/7. They talk in a certain way. They seem to articulate and have this spiritual language, or they've been to all of these ayahuasca ceremonies and they think that they're like all high vibe. And then what happens is then we see this on social media. And then we think, oh my God, what am I doing wrong? I feel guilty because we have to live up to some false expectation of spirituality. The spirituality has been defined for us when we see it across on social media like this. And then we end up feeling guilty because we're back in old habits. We haven't been keeping up our breathwork practice, our mantras, whatever personal spiritual practice you have, you begin to feel some kind of guilt or shame. Oh my God, I haven't been able to keep up because life has just gotten in the way. And then you seem to think that, well, I must not be a good spiritual person. But it's okay to fall off the tracks. It's okay to go back into old habits because it is a process of ascension and descension, a process of expansion and contraction. And when we're in those contraction moments, this is when we need those moments to learn the lessons, to be able to realize that we have gone back into old habits, and then we can begin to really bring awareness to it and then get back on track. It's always a spiral. It's never a linear process, particularly when it comes to healing, when we are on that healing journey. And the truth here is that you cannot define spirituality because spirituality is unique to you. It's unique to me. My spiritual practice is unique to me. How I feel connected to God is totally and divinely unique. And whatever makes you feel connected is unique to you. This means not one size fits all in spirituality, and this is what I love about spirituality. When you jump off the bandwagon of spiritual ego, you begin to see that spirituality can mean anything to anybody. How they feel connected to source is what is their spiritual practice is. And for me personally, when I feel connected to God is when I see sunlight shining through the clouds, when I see sunlight shining through the trees and you see it glistening. And for me, when I like to go jogging, I go running through the local trails and the cycle tracks around the woodland area where I live. And then the sun beams down on me through gaps in the trees, and I just like to have that moment of gratitude, and I say thank you or I love you, and it fills me with joy because it makes me feel connected to God. And that's not the only way. I like to meditate. I also like to journal, because with journaling it kind of creates that channel between you and your higher self. And meditating is the same thing. Meditating is one of the most highest vibrational practices we can do to feel connected. And this is not to say you have to meditate every day, because what might work for you may not necessarily work for me. What you use as a practice to connect to yourself and to feel connected to God may not resonate with me. And your ego will always make it complicated. It will attach to some idea, some false illusion, and make you overthink it, how you should be as a spiritual person, making up all these stories of what a spiritual person looks like. And then it will make you feel guilty that you haven't been able to live up to that character, that persona that it is attached to. And so it overcomplicates it, when true spirituality is simple. It's your unique practice to you. You don't have to overthink it. You don't have to live up to any persona. Like for me personally, you wouldn't see me as someone that's spiritual if you met me. Like, you don't have to be somebody that lives in, like, off-grid somewhere, or is a monk in Tibet, or some guru to only say, well, I'm spiritual. Like, the everyday person in the Western society can be spiritual. It's how you connect to God, and is how you uniquely express your spirituality. And some people like to use their artistic skills, get creative in order to feel connected to themselves and channel those divine creative ideas through and onto paper, because God is creating through us, because we are creators and we are manifestors. So God is constantly creating through us. So people like to be mindful with their artwork, and I like to go for walks in the woods, be with nature. This is what makes me feel connected. So when we see these things across on social media, all these things of like, you must be meditating every single day, otherwise you're not spiritual enough. You've been to no ayahuasca ceremony, so you're not spiritual. I've done all of this work and I'm so spiritual. It's actually bullshit. True spirituality is unique to that individual person. And this is what Yeshua even said. He came in and changed the paradigm and said how you connect to God and Source can be done from anywhere. It can be done from your own home. It can be done from a unique place that is unique to you and that makes you feel connected. So whenever I see that sunlight shining between the trees, when I'm on a walk, or when I see the sunset or the sunrise, I just place my hand over my heart and I think of something I'm grateful for. It brings so much love and gratitude into my heart. So don't get caught up in this idea that spirituality has to look a certain way. You have to act a certain way. You have to live up to some kind of character role, because it is unique to you. But sometimes we see on social media people getting their spiritual ego hats on. They don't realize it. And they believe that they are so fucking high vibe and spiritual because they do all of these spiritual practices every single day. And they're so committed and wonderful because they're just so connected to God and all of this, when simply it's not true. You don't have to do something like that. And I also like to think that when we do our spiritual practices, it's because it's the medicine we need in that moment. So if you haven't been consistently meditating for every single day, or you haven't done your mantras, you haven't done your journaling, or whatever practice that you like to do, or ritual, when you do it, it's obviously you're doing it for the medicine you need in that moment. So don't go hard on yourself, believing that you have to live up to some expectation in spirituality, because it is unique to you. And that's what I love about it. And if you do want to take this further, check out this video next, where I share 3 myths that the New Age spiritual community, the online world, are saying. So with that being said, I will see you in that video. Much love.